Welcome back to Preps Today with John Millea. He's John Millea from the MSHSL. You can read his written work at MSHSL.org. At John's Journal, you can hear the spoken word artistry for at least a little while longer here as John heads toward retirement at talknorth.com. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We're sponsored by the Pizza Barn in Princeton. That's Jody Stay's fine operation. We highly recommend giving them a visit. One of our newer sponsors across the Talk North platform I wanted to make you aware of, Giggly THC Beverages. Promo code Giggly North will get you 50% off your first order. Highly recommend that stuff as well. Let's start today with John with a great story at State Speech. I love when John includes activities along with the sports.
Yeah, Jim, this one's really cool. We had our state speech tournament, one of my favorite events every year. It was held last weekend, Friday and Saturday at Shakopee High School, which is a terrific host. Speech is just such a great activity. The kids involved, they learn a whole bunch of important life lessons. Every one of them. You see these kids who make it to state, it can be just punishing to even get there. But the amount of time they spend working on their performances, there's 13 different categories in high school speech in Minnesota. I'm not going to go into those. Briefly, the team championships were won by Mounds Park Academy in Class A for the third year in a row. And the speech dynasty from Moorhead in Class 2A, they won it for the 9th year in a row. A lot of familiar teams who do this. But a few days before the speech tournament, I headed out west to Howard Lake, Waverly, Winstead, to interview a senior named Darby Fry, as well as the Howard Lake speech coach, Annette Heisted. Darby made it to state for the first time this year as a senior, and how she got there was wild, which I have detailed in a story on John's Journal. I'll hit the high points here. So for Howard Lake, Waverly, Winstead, there's a subsection speech meet. If you finish high enough in your category, you go to the section championship meet. Darby is in humorous interpretation, which is a great category. So much fun to watch. And they're in section 5A, which is a very strong speech section. So at the subsection meet held in her own school, Darby did not finish high enough to advance to the section. And this was heartbreaking. This was not expected. She had a great year. And I was asking them, how can these things happen? And it was kind of like, well, you don't always know the judges who are going to be there. They might have not quite the same sense of humor that others might. So, it's subjective. They rank the finishers. Darby did not finish high enough to go to the section, which was in Annandale, but she was there at the section meet. She's a team captain. She wanted to support her teammates. And then something almost unheard of happened. One of the competitors from another school in Darby's category was absent due to a death in the family. So Darby was one of 2 alternates in this category. What do you do when there's one spot and 2 contestants? The coaches flipped a coin. It came up in Darby's favor. She's back in the game. She performed at the subsection meet, and she finished high enough to qualify for state, which is just unbelievable. Talk about a comeback. I talked to Darby Internet about just the whole highs and lows of this experience, the lowest lows, the highest highs. And Darby told me what she's learned being in speech for 4 years. She started as a 9th grader. She said at that point she was nervous talking in front of one person, and now she's talking in front of crowds of people. She's so good at this, so she goes to state. I watched her perform in one of the rounds on Friday. There are 3 kind of qualification rounds with different judges for different kids, and the top 9 at that point advanced to the finals. Darby didn't make it to the finals, but she had a great time. Everybody was cheering for her. Everybody knew her story. It's so much to be proud of. So congrats to Darby from Howard Lake, Waverly, Winstead, and all the individuals and teams who competed at state speech. It's just one of the greatest things on the calendar.
What a life skill.
Yes.
That can help you in every aspect of your life moving forward. Great stuff. Let's get to a stupendous track meet.
Yeah, so I was out at Shakopee during the day on Friday. And from there, I headed to Hamline University over in St. Paul. That's not an easy drive to make when it's afternoon rush hour time, but I got over there for the Hamlin Elite Meet, the biggest regular season meet of the track season. It's a great concept. They might be going on 20 years here. I think I've been to all of them but one or two. Basically, coaches submit their times and distances for their athletes, and Hamlin basically picks the top 9 in every event, regardless of school size. There's 3 classes in track. So most of these kids at the Hamlin Elite Meet are 3A, 2A, and a small number of 1A kids. But almost every event is a final. In the 100 meters for boys and girls, there's 2 prelim heats and then a final. So it's a really fast-moving, exciting meet. And this year I was sitting at speech and I was trying to come up with a game plan for the track meet that night. And I started looking through the entries and just started noticing Class A kids from small schools. So that's what I focused on. I talked to a bunch of them at the meet. And to me, the most intriguing athlete at the meet was Trinity Giddings. She's a senior from Two Harbors. And if you know where Two Harbors is, spring does not come early on the North Shore. She competed in 3 events at the Elite Meet. She was second in the long jump. She ran in the 100 and the 200. She also qualified in the 400 and the high jump. That tells you what kind of an athlete she is, but chose to stick to those 3 events. And here's the thing. I was talking to her after she was done. This was only her second outdoor track meet of the year. And to put up enough, good times in 5 events to qualify for the Elite Meet and then pick the 3. That's pretty remarkable. And she's going to run track at Minnesota State Mankato, which is a great thing. The weather will be better in the spring in Mankato than Two Harbors. That's what I know for sure. And I wrote about a bunch of other small school kids from Fertile, Beltrami, Bertha Hewitt, Grand Meadow, St. Clair, Maple River, Triton, Caledonia, Pine Island. Pictures of those kids. Just fun talking to athletes who are competing at the highest level. And that story is at John's Journal.
Excellent. All right, let's get to the Pride of Alexandria. I'm guessing it's not Tom Lehman at this point.
This is not a Tom Lehman story. Good guess, though, when you think of the Pride of Alexandria. Last week on the show, Jim, we talked about a whole bunch of basketball coaches retiring. And here's another one. Wendy Kohler has been the girls basketball coach at Alexandria High School for 40 years. She ranks second all-time in career wins. She's coached 1,044 games, won nearly 70% of those. And I got to know Wendy pretty well the last couple of years. I've spent some time up there. I profiled her a year ago. She graduated from high school at Bertha Hewitt in 1979, took over as the head coach of the Alexandria girls basketball team in 1985. And actually, it was 2 years ago when I attended her 1,000th career game up there. And I've seen her teams play at state. They're just so good. These are huge shoes to fill. And when I think about Wendy Kohler, she's like the epitome of a high school coach to me. She was competitive to the very end, which came at the state tournament this past season. But she was also a really strong, really consistent role model for all these young women who played basketball for her. And being there for her 1,000th game, it was like a reunion. A whole bunch of former players were there to support her. And, I've been doing this work a long time, Jim, and I met very few people who are as devoted and inspirational as Wendy Kohler. So let's congratulate her, thank her, and wish her the best in the future.
Yes, congratulations, Wendy. We'll wrap up this show with the most valuable teammate of the week. And John has the cleverly phrased topic, how to feed a journalist. I'm guessing
Yes.
the answer is often.
Often, that's
we'll
right.
get more specifically with John here. But first, speaking of feeding journalists, we hope to get up and see Jody Stay at the Pizza Barn this summer. Tell us what's going on at the Pizza Barn these days.
Yeah, April has ended. I hope everybody had a chance to visit the Pizza Barn and try the April Pizza of the Month, the Seafood Scampi. We're anxiously awaiting the announcement of the May Pizza of the Month, which is guaranteed to be special. And as I always say, the menu at the Pizza Barn is huge, way more than pizza. They got the famous cow pie pizza. That's a big one at the Pizza Barn. That's loaded with pepperoni, sausage, Canadian bacon. They throw on mushrooms, onions, green peppers, olives, topped with mozzarella. That's a standard at the Pizza Barn. And as May does arrive, the Pizza Barn is going to is heading now into summer hours with a later closing time every evening. The barn will be open until 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, 9 p.m. the rest of the week. And as always, thanks to our great friend Jody Stay and her just unbelievably outstanding crew at the Pizza Barn. They do everything right.
They do, and look forward to seeing them very soon. Thanks also to Aquarius Home Services. All right, let's get to this week's most valuable teammate.
Yes, sir. Caden Freeman is a senior from Black Duck. I know where Black Duck is, and I've been to Black Duck. And if you're going to have to Google it if you don't know, it's a great little town up north. Caden is the captain of the speech team. He gives generously of his time to help his teammates, but more importantly, he's a perfect role model for younger teammates. He listens to their concerns and problems, offers them unconditional support. He's an amazing young man and absolutely a most valuable teammate. Congratulations to Caden Freeman of Black Duck.
Okay, now let's get to the final topic of this show, how to feed a journalist. Let's try to keep it to half hour or so.
Let's go. Well, the Pizza Barn is a big part of that.
Yes.
But not specifically this segment. So I talked about on Friday, I started my day at Shakopee High School for the state speech tournament, finished my day at Hamline University for the track meet. So I had not been at the speech tournament for 5 minutes. I walk in there, there's like a headquarters room where all the people, all the organizers are, the directors kind of running the show. I go in there and I'm saying hi to people. The same people work this meet every year. They're unbelievably talented and veterans. They know everything about speech and kind of, chatting with people. And one of them says to me, "John, did you find the food?" And there are concessions. There's a pretty wide range of concessions. There's hundreds of kids and families here. So the host school has concessions, which are available. But I knew what he meant. He meant this basically private room where the coaches and the judges and the workers are fed very well, very, very well. There's a wide variety of things to eat. It's a good spread. So, and I knew where it was. I've been to Shakopee for this event. I said, "Is it in the same place?" "Sure is." I said, "I'm on it." So I was well fed at speech. Then I drive out to the Hamline Elite meet. I see one of the starters, Jen Myers, a veteran starter, someone I've written about, a good friend of mine. She points me at the Tupperware container she brought containing chocolate chip cookies. And I was in the middle of waiting for some events to end to do some interviews. So I was kind of proud of myself. I didn't immediately lunge at the cookies. I said, "Jen, I'm going to get there. I promise you I'm going to get there." And I did. And had some delicious chocolate chip cookies. So I don't know what that says about me, but when they see me coming, they think food. So I am always well fed, and all I can say about all of that is life is good.
Yes, great segment. My life changed completely when I realized I had a gluten allergy, because almost everything you eat when you're a sports journalist is gluten based. I've become Mr. Tupperware. It's kind of embarrassing.
There you go. Hey, there's worse things,
I guess. Yes. Yes. I do miss being able to just walk into any press box anywhere in the world and just eat whatever they happen to be laying out there. Not that I'm just, the kind of person who would eat anything, but I used to be the kind of person who would eat anything.
Yeah. I always look forward in my days of covering the Timberwolves in the Wild. I was always happy to go to games in Detroit because the Little Caesars, I forget the Little Caesars owner, he owns those teams. Man, you walk in the door and there's Little Caesars right there. It's in the media room. It's halftime. It's after the game. If you like Little Caesars, be a journalist covering NBA and NHL games in Detroit, because the menu is not varied, but boy, if you like pizza, there you go.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Good way to, and I think it's good for your lifestyle too, to eat pizza at like 1 a.m. I think that's.
Oh, I think so.
It's good.
I just remembered I also had 2 hot dogs from the concession stand at Hamline. So I hit all the food groups.
There you
cookies
go.
and hot dogs for sure. Yeah, there you go.
You're carrying the banner for all of us, John.
That's all I can do.
Good stuff from John, as always. Again, John is planning on retiring sometime this summer. We're going to keep the show going as long as we have topics this summer. I appreciate John doing all the work he's done for us and for the MSHSL all these years. So hang with us here for a couple more months. We're going to have some more fun. Thanks again to Aquarius Home Services. Thanks again to Jody Stay and Pizza Barn. And we will talk to you soon.